If you've been feeling unusually drained, disconnected, or doubting your path, you're not alone. The universe is desperately trying to tell you something, and it may not be what you think. What if the very practices meant to protect your energy are actually robbing you of your power? Think about it. Why are so many awakened people struggling now more than ever? Why do those claiming to be the most spiritually protected seem to be the ones most easily shattered by life's challenges? The answer lies in a forgotten prophecy that's finally coming to light, and what it reveals about modern spirituality will change everything you thought you knew about energy protection. In today's video, we're diving deep into a phenomenon that's becoming increasingly prevalent in spiritual communities, a dangerous trend we call fragile spirituality. Before we dive deep into this, we want to acknowledge something important. This message isn't about abandoning all spiritual protection. It's about recognizing when protection becomes a prison. The truth, as always, lies in the balance, but it's a balance that many modern spiritual teachings have lost. Take a moment and affirm with me, I'm ready to embrace a stronger, more authentic spirituality. I trust in my inner wisdom to guide me toward truth. Feel these words resonating in your heart as we explore this together, and please share or modify in the comments if it resonates. Let's start with the most seductive trap in modern spirituality. This is what we call the protection paradox. This first sign of fragile spirituality is so widespread because it sounds so completely logical on the surface. We're told we need to protect our energy at all costs, shield ourselves from negativity, create impenetrable spiritual boundaries. I know some of you may be thinking, but aren't boundaries important? Don't we need some protection? And you're absolutely right. The key word here is some. There's a crucial difference between having healthy boundaries and building energetic prison walls. One allows you to engage powerfully with life. The other keeps you trapped in a spiritual bubble, weakening your spiritual immune system by the day. It's become almost trendy to talk about protection from negative energy. This is because it resonates with our experiences of feeling drained or overwhelmed by certain people or situations. It validates our intuitive sense that some energies don't serve us. However, in the Better Life community, we're committed to a deeper truth. While protection is sometimes necessary, transformation is often possible. We won't just tell you to cut off negative people or avoid challenging situations. Instead, we'll support you in developing the spiritual strength to transform these experiences into opportunities for growth. This isn't always the popular message. It's easier to tell people to sage their space and cut off connections than to guide them through the challenging work of spiritual transformation. But true spiritual growth isn't about taking the easy path. It's about taking the path that leads to genuine evolution of consciousness. When we truly understand the nature of our own energy and our own truth, we discover something remarkable. Our light doesn't diminish by engaging with the world. It grows stronger. Think about this. Have you found yourself avoiding people with different beliefs because you fear their lower vibrations or that they might lower your frequency? Feeling unsafe in your own energy or in your own space due to the influence of others? Declining invitations to gatherings because you're worried about energy vampires? For those of you who are natural empaths and givers, I want to be very clear. This isn't about abandoning boundaries or becoming vulnerable to energy-draining relationships. Instead, it's about developing such strong spiritual sovereignty that you can maintain your energy while engaging with the world. It's about building resilience rather than resistance. We understand, however, that there are some energies that should be avoided at all costs, and we trust in your discernment to decide when this is the case. Let's look at Jesus' example, because whether you follow his teachings or not, there's profound wisdom here about spiritual strength. When Jesus dined with those considered sinners and outcasts, he demonstrated something powerful. True spiritual strength isn't about avoiding lower energies. It's about being so grounded in your own light that you can transform the darkness around you. This doesn't mean you need to become a spiritual teacher or healer to everyone you meet. The lesson is deeper than that. It shows us that when we're truly connected to our spiritual source, we don't need to fear losing our energy or power through engagement with others. Instead, our mere presence can elevate the energy around us, not through conscious effort, but through simply being authentic in our truth. Jesus said, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." The great Buddhist master Shantideva wrote, "May I be a protector for those without one, a guide for all travelers on the way. May I be a bridge, a boat, and a ship for all who wish to cross the water." This is the opposite of fragile spirituality. It's robust, engaging, and deeply connected to the welfare of all beings. In the Buddhist tradition, we find an even more profound teaching about the interconnected nature of enlightenment. The Bodhisattva vow, one of the most beautiful expressions of spiritual dedication, states that one will postpone their own final enlightenment until all beings are enlightened. Imagine that level of commitment to collective evolution. And here's where modern science confirms what these ancient teachers knew intuitively. Neuroscience research shows that positive social connection and authentic sharing actually strengthen our neural networks and boost our overall well-being. When we engage in meaningful connection with others, our brains literally synchronize, creating what scientists call neural synchrony. This synchronization has been shown to enhance learning, empathy, and personal growth. The second sign of fragile spirituality is what psychologists call spiritual bypassing, using spiritual concepts to avoid facing our shadows and processing difficult emotions. This is perhaps the most subtle yet damaging pattern in modern spirituality. Think about how often you've heard, or perhaps said yourself, phrases like, "Just raise your vibration," "Everything happens for a reason," "Good vibes only," "You create your own reality." Let's look at how these mantras become toxic when misused. First, just raise your vibration. Imagine Sarah, who's dealing with depression after losing her job. Instead of seeking professional help or allowing herself to process her feelings, her spiritual friend tells her to just raise her vibration through meditation and positive thinking. While meditation can be helpful, using it to avoid addressing the real issues, like financial stress, loss of identity, or need for professional support, can actually deepen the depression and add a layer of shame, making Sarah feel like she's failing at spirituality because she can't just think positive. Second, everything happens for a reason. Consider Mark, whose partner just left him after a 10-year relationship. His spiritual community keeps telling him everything happens for a reason, and that the universe has something better planned. While this might be true in a larger sense, using this phrase to bypass the necessary grief process can prevent Mark from learning crucial lessons about himself and relationships. Sometimes we need to sit with our pain before we can understand its purpose. Third, good vibes only. The Indian response to COVID-19 in 2021 serves as a warning. India experienced a devastating second wave of COVID-19, and several prominent spiritual leaders and politicians promoted the idea that positive thinking and spiritual practices alone could prevent infection. The Kumbh Mela festival proceeded despite warnings, with some leaders claiming that faith in divinity would protect attendees. This spiritual bypassing of public health concerns contributed to a super spreader event affecting millions. When people got sick, some were told they simply hadn't been positive enough, or that their karma had manifested this outcome. And lastly, fourth, you create your own reality. This one can be particularly harmful when misused. Take Alex, whose small business failed during the pandemic. When he shares his struggles, an accountability partner quotes The Secret and suggests he manifested this failure through negative thinking. This oversimplified view of manifestation ignores systemic issues, external circumstances, and the complex nature of reality, while adding a heavy burden of guilt to someone who's already struggling. The real danger of spiritual bypassing is that it often comes wrapped in wisdom that contains a kernel of truth. Yes, our mindset matters. Yes, there are often hidden blessings in difficulties. Yes, maintaining a positive outlook can be helpful. But when we use these truths to avoid doing the deep inner work required for genuine spiritual growth, we create what can be called a spiritual band-aid. It might look pretty on the surface, but underneath, the wound continues to fester. True spirituality isn't about bypassing our humanity. It's about embracing it fully, including the parts that make us uncomfortable. This means recognizing that sometimes the most spiritual thing we can do is simply be present with our struggles, acknowledging systemic and external challenges while taking personal responsibility, supporting others in their pain instead of rushing to fix their energy. In the Better Life community, we believe in a form of integrated spirituality that intertwines with your local reality, where we can hold both the transcendent truth of our spiritual nature and the very real, sometimes messy experience of being human. This means we can say everything happens for a reason, while still also acknowledging that right now, it really hurts. We can work on raising our vibration while also seeking professional help when needed. We can believe in our power to create reality while acknowledging that we're part of larger systems and collective experiences with overwhelming power. True spirituality isn't about bypassing our humanity, it's about embracing it fully, including the parts that make us uncomfortable. This is where shadow work becomes crucial. Carl Jung taught us that the shadow, those parts of ourselves we reject, deny, or try to hide, doesn't disappear when we ignore it. Instead, it grows stronger in the darkness of our unconscious, influencing our behavior in ways we don't recognize. Ancient wisdom traditions have long understood this truth. In Hindu mythology, the goddess Kali, often misunderstood in the West, represents the divine feminine force that destroys illusion and ego attachment. She doesn't represent negativity, but rather the courage to face and transform our shadows. Take a moment and affirm with me. I embrace all aspects of myself with courage and compassion. My shadows are opportunities for growth and transformation. Feel the power of accepting your whole self, not just the parts that feel spiritual or fit the vibe you're looking for. The third sign brings us to another pervasive issue in today's spiritual community, becoming overly attached to the external representation of our spiritual identity. Two major forces are dramatically reshaping and often distorting our approach to spirituality in the modern world. The first force has a pervasive impact on modern spirituality, and it may literally be in the palm of your hand right now. Social media hasn't just changed how we connect, it's fundamentally altered how we practice spirituality itself. Think about your spiritual feed for a moment. Perfect meditation poses in designer yoga wear, carefully arranged crystal grids, enlightening captions typed moments after spontaneous spiritual revelations. We've turned the sacred into content, the profound into performance. But here's what's missing from this carefully curated spiritual highlight reel: the raw, messy truth of genuine spiritual growth. The 3 a.m. dark nights of the soul, the meditation sessions where your mind won't stop racing, the moments of doubt that make you question everything you believe. These struggles aren't signs of spiritual failure, they're the forge where real spiritual strength is built. First, there's the amplification effect of social media. We're living in an age spirituality has become performative, where a meditation session can become a photo opportunity. A moment of insight is a potential post, and this can create a tendency for some to focus more on the external sharing than the internal work. The late-night doubts, the failed meditation and prayer, the moments of confusion and questioning, these rarely make it to our feeds. Yet these are often the moments where real transformation happens. Take a deep breath and affirm, "I trust my inner guidance above external validation." The The second, and perhaps more concerning force, is how spirituality has become entangled with identity politics. Instead of using spiritual wisdom to transcend our differences and connect with our shared humanity, many are using it to create new forms of separation. We've begun to use spiritual beliefs as tribal markers, creating subtle but rigid hierarchies based on who's more spiritual or more awakened. If you've recognized any of these signs of fragile spirituality we've discussed today in your own practice, know that awareness is the first step to transformation. Share your experiences in the comments below. Sometimes the greatest growth comes through these honest conversations. Your next question might be, how do we break free from these patterns of fragile spirituality? How do we develop a more resilient spirituality? How do we maintain healthy boundaries and stand in the power and authenticity of our truth? In part 2 of this series, we'll explore concrete strategies for developing spiritual resilience, the ability to maintain your spiritual connection while fully engaging with life's challenges. True spirituality isn't about escaping the world. It's about transforming it through our presence and engagement. Subscribe now so you don't miss this essential guide to building real spiritual strength in the real world. One final affirmation together. I am a beacon of authentic spiritual light. I choose connection over isolation, truth over performance, and love over fear. My spiritual journey serves not just my highest good, but the highest good of all beings. Thank you for watching, for engaging in our comments, and for being a member of our community on your path to a better life.